Imagine you are a devotee of Murugan. You decide that you want to visit all six of his most sacred abodes. You begin searching for information. You discover something interesting. There are six famous temples: Tiruparamkundram, Tiruchendur, Palani, Swamimalai, Tirthani, and Palamudiccholai. Together, they are known as Arupadai Veedu, the six battle campus or six sacred abodes of Murugan. But then a question comes: why exactly these six? And why are they traditionally mentioned in this particular order? Why does the journey begin at Tiruparamkundram? Why does Tiruchendur come second? Why is Palani third? And why does the journey finally end at Palamudiccholai? Is this merely a list created by tradition, or is there a deeper spiritual meaning behind sequence? And if we want to visit all six, should we actually visit them in this order? Today, let's explore the history, literature, legends, and spiritual symbolism behind Murugan's Arupadai Veedu. And by the end of this video, you may see these six temples not as six separate destinations, but as six stages of spiritual journey. Let's start with, what does Arupadai Veedu mean? Before talking about the order, we need to understand the name. The Tamil expression is Arupadai Veedu. Aru means six, Veedu means abode or residence or sacred place. The word Padai is more interesting. Padai can mean an army, battle force, or a military camp. So, Arupadai Veedu is traditionally understood as Murugan's six sacred abodes associated with his divine exploits and campaigns. These aren't simply six random Murugan temples. Each one is associated with an important episode in Murugan's mythology, and each temple has developed its own distinctive tradition, worship practices, and sacred landscape. But there is another fascinating point. The concept of Murugan's six abodes is closely connected with Tamil devotional and literary tradition. One of the most important works associated with Murugan is Tirumurugatrupadai. It is traditionally attributed to Nakirar and is part of the Padipata, 10 idols of Sangam literature. The work praises Murugan and guides devotees towards his sacred places. This literary tradition is extremely important when we discuss the antiquity of Murugan worship. But we should be careful. The modern popular list of six temples and the exact way devotees organize their pilgrimage has developed through centuries of religious traditions. So we shouldn't imagine that one ancient text simply printed today's six temple itinerary exactly as a modern travel brochure. Instead, the tradition evolved through literature, temple worship, mythology, and pilgrimage practice. Now let's see, why is Tiruparamkundram first? Now we come to the first and one of the most important questions. Why does the traditional sequence begin with Tiruparamkundram? Tiruparamkundram is located near Madurai. The temple is associated with one of the most important events in Murugan's mythology, his marriage to Devayani. According to the traditional story, Murugan, after defeating Surapadman, Indra offered his daughter Devayani in marriage to Murugan. The divine wedding is associated with Tiruparamkundram. So symbolically, this is not simply a place of battle. It is a place of victory followed by union. The warrior becomes the bridegroom, the battle ends, and a new phase begins. This makes Tiruparamkundram a powerful starting point for pilgrimage. Think about the symbolism. The spiritual journey often begins when we overcome something within ourselves. That is fear, ego, confusion, attachment, anger. Murugan defeats the forces of darkness, and then comes the union and harmony. So Tiruparamkundram can be viewed as the beginning of the devotee's transformation. Now let's see why Tiruchendur is second. From the hills near Madurai, we move towards the sea, Tiruchendur. This is traditionally the second Arupadai Veedu, and its mythology is deeply connected with the Murugan's battle against Surapadman. Tiruchendur is particularly associated with Surapadman's defeat, and that gives the second stage of journey a very different character. Tirupparam represents divine victory followed by marriage. Tiruchendur represents battle and destruction of evil. The sea itself becomes the part of the spiritual atmosphere. Imagine standing before the ocean at Tiruchendur. The waves continue coming again and again. Just like the challenges of life, Murugan stands as the warrior who confronts the forces of adharma. This is one reason Tiruchendur occupies such an important place in Murugan worship. Now let's see Palani. Here the story changes completely. Then comes Palani and suddenly the image of Murugan changes. At Tiruchendur we see a warrior. At Palani we see Dandayudhabani. Murugan stands with minimal positions holding his staff. The Palani is connected with one of the most beloved stories in Tamil Hindu tradition. The contest between Murugan and his brother Ganesha for the divine fruit. Their parents Shiva and Parvati announce that whoever circles the world first will receive the fruit. Murugan immediately mounts his peacock and begins his journey. Ganesha simply walks around his parents. Why? Because he says, "My parents are my world." Ganesha wins, Murugan returns and becomes upset. He leaves and comes to the hill of Palani. And the famous phrase associated with the story is Paramni, you are the fruit. This story is often interpreted as a lesson about knowledge, wisdom, and nature of true fulfillment, and therefore Palani represents something different. The warrior who fought outside now turns inward. The message becomes, what are we really searching for? The next is Swami Malai. Here the Murugan becomes the Guru. Now comes the fourth abode, Swami Malai, and this is perhaps one of the most philosophically fascinating stages because here Murugan becomes the teacher. According to the famous tradition, Shiva asks Murugan about the meaning of sacred syllable Om. Murugan tells Shiva that he can explain it, but only if Shiva accepts Murugan as a student or approaches him as a disciple. Shiva agrees and Murugan teaches the meaning of Om. Think about the symbolism. The son becomes the guru and the father becomes the student. This teaches a profound lesson. Wisdom is not limited by age or position, and therefore, if we see the 6 abodes of a spiritual journey, something remarkable is happening. At Tirupparam victory, at Tiruchendur battle, at Palani renunciation, and Swami Malai knowledge. The journey is moving inward. Next is Tirutani, peace after battle. The 5th abode is Tirutani. Tradition connects Tirutani with Murugan after his battles. Here the warrior finds peace and calm. This is significant because the victory itself is not the final goal. What happens after victory? Can the mind become peaceful? Can the anger disappear? Can the warrior put down his weapons? Tirutani represents that transition. The battlefield becomes quiet. The mind becomes calm. The Murugan is worshipped here as a deity associated with peace, grace, and protection. So once again, if we look at 6 abodes symbolically, we began with action, we passed through conflict, we encountered renunciation, we encountered knowledge, and now we reach inner peace. And finally, Palamudar Cholai, the final abode. And finally, we reach Palamudar Cholai, near Madurai, surrounded by the beautiful landscapes of Alagar Hills. This temple is associated with Murugan, accompanied by Valli and Devayani, and this makes the final stage particularly beautiful. Murugan is no longer merely the warrior, he is no longer simply the ascetic, he is no longer only the teacher. He is now associated with fullness, grace, and divine companionship. The name itself contains the image of fruit-bearing grove, a place of abundance, a place where nature and divinity come together, and that makes a beautiful conclusion to the traditional pilgrimage. Now let's see why these six. Now we arrive at the central question: why these six temples? One simple answer is because these six became especially important in Tamil religious traditions surrounding Murugan through literature, mythology, temple worship, and pilgrimage. But there is another layer. Each temple preserves a different aspect of Murugan. Tiruparankundram, marriage and divine union; Tiruchendur, victory over evil; Palani, renunciation and wisdom; Swami Malai, divine knowledge; Tirutani, peace; Palamudar Cholai, grace, abundance, and completeness. So the six temples follow devotees to encounter different dimensions of the same deity. This is important. Murugan is not six different gods. He is one deity appearing through six sacred landscapes and six major traditions. Now let's see why is the number 6 so important. Now comes another fascinating questions. Why 6? Why not 5? Why not 7? The number 6 has a special place in Murugan symbolism. Murugan is traditionally depicted with 6 faces. He is called Shanmukha or Shanmukha, the 6-faced one. He is also associated with 6 syllables: Sa, Ra, Va, Na, Bha, Va, the famous Saravana Bhava mantra. So 6 repeatedly appears in Murugan tradition. 6 faces, 6 syllables, 6 sacred abodes, and therefore devotees naturally see a symbolic relationship between these 6-fold traditions. However, we should make an important distinction. Not every symbolic explanation we hear today necessarily represents original historical reason why the 6 temples were selected. Some interpretations are later devotional or spiritual interpretations, and that's perfectly meaningful as long as we understand the difference between historical evidence and symbolic interpretation. Now let's see why do we have to visit them in this exact order. This is perhaps the most useful question for devotees. Suppose you want to visit all 6 temples. Do you have to physically travel? Tiruparankundram, Tiruchendur, Palani, then Swami Malai, then Tirutani, and then Palamudar Cholai? Not necessarily. The sequence is traditional canonical order, not as a compulsory travel itinerary. There is an important difference between the order in which temples are traditionally listed and the most practical geographical route for a modern pilgrim. If you're traveling from Chennai, for example, your practical route may be completely different. You might choose a route based on distance, transport time, family commitments, or temple timings. That doesn't make your pilgrimage less meaningful. The traditional order tells us about the religious tradition and sacred narrative. The physical route can be adapted to practical circumstances. Now let's see, can we visit all 6 in one trip? Yes, many devotees do, but don't think of it as a race. One mistake pilgrims sometimes make is 6 temples in 2 days. Then they spend most of the journey inside cars and buses. The real purpose is not to collect 6 temple photographs. It is to experience 6 sacred traditions. If possible, spend enough time at each temple to understand who is Murugan here, what is the Sthala Puranam, what is the main form of worship, what is special about the landscape, why does this temple teach, what does it exactly teaches, and so on. Then the journey becomes much more meaningful. A symbolic way to understand the journey. Now let me give you a beautiful way of remembering the six. Imagine that the six temples represent six stages in your own life. Tiruparam Kundram, begin with courage. You'll face life's challenges. Tiruchendur, fight what must be fought. Don't allow fear and negativity to control you. The third one, Palani, learn detachment. Not everything we desire is necessary. Next is Swami Malay, seek knowledge. Become willing to learn. Tirthani, find peace. Victory without peace is incomplete. Palamidar Chole, live with grace and fullness. Return to the world with wisdom, compassion, and suddenly the six temples become much more than six locations. They become a map for inner transformation. Now let's see the geography and how it is fascinating. There is another beautiful contrast. Look at the landscapes. Tiruparam Kundram, a rocky hill. Tiruchendur, the sea. Palani, a hill. Swami Malay, a sacred landscape of the Kaveri region. Tirthani, another hill. Palamudar Chole, a forested hill environment. So Murugan is encountered across different landscapes: rock, sea, hill, riverine plains, hill, forest. This tells us something important and beautiful about Tamil religious culture. The mountain was sacred, the forest was sacred, the sea was sacred. The landscape itself became a part of worship. Now let's see why Murugan's six abodes remain so powerful. Perhaps the greatest reason these temples remain important is that they allow different people to connect with Murugan in different ways. A person facing fear may see the warrior. A person seeking wisdom may see the guru. A person seeking peace may see the calm Murugan. A person seeking family blessings may connect with the divine marriages. A person seeking spiritual freedom may connect with Palani's aesthetic form. A person simply seeking divine grace may find it in Palamudar Chole. Same Murugan, different experience. So, I just want to conclude. If you ever decide to visit Murugan's Arupadai Veedu, don't simply remember six names. Remember the journey. Tiruparam Kundram, where victory becomes union. Tiruchendur, where evil is confronted. Palani, where attachment is questioned. Swami Malay, where knowledge is received. Tirthani, where the warrior finds peace. Palamudar Chole, where the journey reaches fullness and grace. And remember one more thing, you don't have to complete the six temples in a particular physical travel route to be a true devotee. The traditional sequence is meaningful because the religious and literary traditions surrounding these sacred places. The road you physically take can change, but the inner journey can remain the same. Perhaps that is the real beauty of Arupadai Veedu. Six temples, six sacred landscapes, six powerful stories, six dimensions of Murugan, and ultimately one divine presence. Well, Muruga. If you could visit only one of the Murugan's Arupadai Veedu first, which one would you choose and why? Tell me in the comments, and if you want, in my next video, I can take you through the ideal pilgrimage route to which of the six temples, including the best order based on geography and travel convenience. Thank you for watching.